Hello. Exciting time right now for me, and I've been waiting for this for a while just because I purchased it almost a year ago. But I'm installing a Badlands ZXR 3,500 pound winch to my 2018 Honda Rancher. And this is kind of, if you guys, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this brand, especially if you've been doing some research, but this is kind of like a higher end Harbor Freight winch. And to be honest with you, I cannot remember how much I paid for it. I think I got it on sale maybe for like 150 bucks or something like that. And comes with the remote, and of course thumb switch control, and that goes on the handlebar. From some of the research I've done, a lot of people recommend, regardless of what type of winch you use, to buy the KFI bracket. It's a lifesaver, and you buy them specifically to whatever make and model four-wheeler you put it on. So that just makes life 100% easier. And then the other thing that I did is I went ahead and I bought a sub harness access for Honda, and it just makes it, you don't necessarily need this, but in order to hook up the wiring, I chose to go down that path just in case something weird happens or whatever. I'm not splicing the actual wiring from the four-wheeler. I'm just splicing this additional harness that I can just disconnect it, and my four-wheeler would be completely fine without it. So just kind of I don't know, just a peace of mind for myself, not messing around with the actual wiring of the four-wheeler. And this would be, I'm not super mechanical by any means, and this is my first time installing a winch on my four-wheeler, so, or a winch period. So anyways, but that's what I'm doing. I'm going to bring you guys along. Here we go. Obviously, in order to get the winch in the front here, I need to remove the front bumper, and to do so there's a plastic guard underneath. I'll bring you guys along with me as I do that, but definitely one of the side panels would be extremely beneficial to remove. And based on my research, and it actually makes sense, the right side panel, that's where the main wiring harness runs through the whole quad. On the other side is the exhaust, so you don't want to put wires next to the exhaust. So I'm just gonna follow the main wire harness on the four-wheeler, and I'm just gonna zip tie the wiring for the winch onto that, and just follow it all the way back to the battery. Now I'm gonna have to take, like I said, the front bumper off and the plastic guard underneath. So here we go. Okay, so I'm using my DeWalt impact drill with the 10 mil socket. I'm not gonna remove this bottom shield all the way. I just removed the two bottom ones, and then there's one on the side here, and then one on this other side. As you can tell, that gives you some pretty good wiggle room here. Okay, set these aside. Okay, next we got some hardware here, and then up top I'll show you guys, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You're just trying to get this front bumper loose. Okay, for these I'm using a let's see, a 12 mil socket. Okay, and full disclosure, let me get my phone. A couple years ago I took this four-wheeler down a pretty good tumble, and I had to replace a lot of the plastics on it, but during that roll that it took, it bent the bumper in a little bit, or the brackets, not the frame, just the brackets of the bumper. And there is another set of bolts like here in the middle, and the holes weren't aligning up because this bumper got pushed in a little bit, and this side arms are a little bit bent, so it doesn't line up. But it does line up perfectly with the bottom and obviously the top. But that's why on your machine you'll have another set right up here. You'll see it, it's right over here where my finger is. Yeah, you can't see it because it's plastic, but anyways, it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, I just loosened this guy up right here. Now I'm going to do this one. Forgot about these. There's two more tiny little rods that go up, and there's two tiny little bolts right there too. Okay, here's the bumper. So put your winch on the bracket, then put all that on the bumper, reinstall the bumper, and then run the wiring. Alrighty, so here we go. Okay, so we're just unboxing this real quick. Sorry, I got my golf stuff around here, but I already pulled this out, and the roller guide, and I couldn't figure out how to put it back in there, but here's what we got here. So we got all the wiring box, I believe this is. Yep, wiring, the remote. It does come with its own mounting plate. But like I said, a lot of videos that I've watched, they all recommended the KFI bracket. So this guy replaces this universal one, okay? So wiring, and then of course the winch. Pretty heavy, pretty big guy, I'm not gonna lie. The clutch. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna install this. First we're gonna install the roller guide to this, and then the winch, okay? Okay, so I got the KFI bracket, got the roller rack. Now the KFI did come with some of its own hardware. It's got nylon lock nuts rather than lock washers. So we'll use some of this KFI hardware. Okay, so first things first, we'll mount the roller guide. Might have called it roller rack earlier. Sorry about that. Okay. Right to the front, and as you can see, beautiful thing. Just matches perfectly. Okay, so we just go ahead and put the bolts I mean. Okay, got that installed. Alright. Okay, so gonna kind of change things a little bit. I'm gonna install the bracket to the bumper first, and then I'm going to install the winch to the whole setup. I'm gonna have a really hard time reaching these bolts here if the winch is in this cavity right here. So so again, I mounted the rollers on the bracket. Now I'm installing the bracket to the bumper, and then I'll install the winch. Okay, and for that I'm going to use the other two bolts that came with the KFI, with the plastic lock nuts. Okay, so these guys right here. Okay, so I got all the hardware set up, lock washers and the regular washer, and I got them all ready, so I don't have to mess with that as I'm holding this heavy winch. Okay, let's slide the winch into place like so. Let's see if I can do this. Maybe. Hope you guys can see somewhat okay. Not doing a very good job filming this part, I guess. Hey Bubba, hey bud. This is Rip. Rip. Hey buddy. Okay. Hey, get back, get back. Well, this is pretty much it right here. Let's see how the clearing is. Yeah. What I'm gonna do is push this in closest to the rolling rack and kind of see if that's going to work out. Let's see. Okay, it's pretty tight on there. Here you guys have it. Okay, now the fun part. Trying to do this by myself and put it back on the quad. That should be fun. I'm gonna get these guys ready, just so if I can get the bumper in on here, then at least I can feed this through and keep it in place. Okay, let's see. There's one. Again, if your bumper is not dented up or anything, this process should be a heck of a lot easier. But since I got a little bit of a tumble with this guy, like I said, my front bumper is tweaked pretty good. So it should be interesting as I try to bolt the rest of this in. I don't know if you guys remember Rieth from some of my other videos. He was just a pup in some of them. Oh God. Yes. Yes, buddy. Yes. Come here. Come here. Sit. Shake. No. Shake. No. Shake. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Alright. Alright. Nope. Stop. Alright. Had to let him out. He was being super hyper. Okay, now I'm going to try to bolt everything back together. Like it's basically just reversing the process of taking the bumper off. Okay, now we're just, like I said, just going backwards now and putting all the hardware back. See if I lift this up a little bit. Just line up those holes. There you go, there's one. We're doing the same on the other side. Okay, now we're gonna finish the rest of this, right? We're gonna put all the hardware in, tighten everything up, and then we'll start with wiring. So note to self, feed the wire through the rollers before you mount the whole deal on the four-wheeler. Okay, the other thing that honestly, and it took me forever, again, I don't do this all the time, the wiring. So I already kind of loosely connected the blue and the yellow to the solenoid. What I was really hoping to do is to get the solenoid into like a dry area, like near the battery, or this little, show you guys where I was originally thinking to put it. See, when you shut this little compartment, there's a pocket there. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. Let's put the solenoid there to be away from the elements. Well, on this particular model, and maybe some of the more expensive models, they're not so stingy on wiring. You just don't have enough wire to do that. I mean, yeah, these front wires are ridiculously short, but it's like, hey, that's alright. Just switch the colors. Use the short ones for the battery access and put the solenoid near the battery, and then run the black and the red from over there to the winch. But guess what? You don't have enough length to do that on the black or reds. I mean, I'll show you guys what I did. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm gonna follow the original path of where the main wire harness for the four-wheeler is going. So that's what I did. Okay, so here's the battery, here's the red wire with the fuse box, and this is just loosely here. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I might just zip tie it to the frame here, but so, and here's the black wire, and I fed these through here. Here's the main wire harness, right, which goes towards the battery. Now I just fed it through here, and then through there, and then you could see them just hanging down low over there on the other side, because that's where I'm going to have to put the solenoid. They give you just enough wire to where the yellow and the reds or I'm sorry, the yellow and the blue needs to be almost fully extended, and the black and the reds need to be pretty much fully extended. And where they meet, that's where the solenoid is going to be. They don't give you not even like 6 extra inches of wire. I guess you could go on this side since all the connections are there. Right? There's the winch. And I guess you could go in a straight line somewhat on this side. But there's the exhaust, you guys. There's a reason where there's hardly any wiring over here. I mean, there's the exhaust. And I just doubt the Harbor Freight wires are super heavy duty, and I doubt they'll do good next to heat. They'll probably get super brittle over time, and pretty soon all that rubber casing is just going to crack and fall off, or who knows, start shorting out. So I'm just going to have to go this way. But the only, I mean, look at this, the red, I put that rubber boot on there. They come in the box, and it's to cover the connections with the solenoid. So right there it tells me they expect the solenoid to be somewhat exposed to weather or moisture when these boots are, you know, included in the set. I do think they should have made that solenoid either, I don't know, more enclosed like some of the other brands. Some of the other brands, the solenoid construction, it's made to be out in the elements, not with no worries. Looking at the Harbor Freight, not so much. But anyways, so because this is where my wires pretty much end up at, and then again the yellow and the blues right there, and they're super short, I basically have just enough length to meet like over here somewhere with them. So what I'm going to do is right on the other side of this fender, sorry for the lighting, you guys. So here's the fender, the inside of the fender, right? Here's the wheel, here's the plastic fender part inside. Just on the other side of this is where my solenoid is going to go, and it's going to go like right there. I'm going to grab it and kind of hold it in place to show you guys. Okay, so I'm just holding it. See, I'm moving it. It's going to be right there. So again, I'm just going to mark, kind of do a guesstimate where this thing is going to be sitting at on this other side. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but I marked my drilling spots with the Sharpie, and now I'm just gonna drill. Make sure on the other side you're not gonna hit the tank or a wire or whatever, which clear. Okay. Now I'm going to put the solenoid on the other side and feed these the hardware that came with the winch. Okay guys, well, mounting that solenoid right there was a bigger pain in the butt than I thought it was going to be. The hardware they give you there, I wish they would have given you double the amount of the washers. They give you one regular flat washer, one lock washer, and if you're gonna do it on plastic, you need at least 2 washers. So what I'm gonna do is let me grab my phone and light that up so you guys can see. Okay, so where that line is in the dust, that was my first attempt, and it was too high. It was hitting the 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive cable, and then where it's mounted now, if you notice next to the top one there's another hole. Well, when I was cinching it down, I didn't have a washer on this side because there's barely the hardware is just not, it's not big enough. It's not the right hardware for that solenoid. So just note to self, get yourself some extra hardware for that solenoid to properly attach it to whatever you're gonna do it. This is almost made like you're gonna attach it through like the frame or through some metal, or it's just weird, really weird. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave this as it is now, and then I'm gonna run to the store tomorrow and get like some, I mean, not huge washers, but pretty bigger washers, and you can definitely use a thicker gauge hardware for it. That's what I'm going to do for now. Then I'm going to attach these wires on the frame and then kind of feed them to where they're going to get connected on the winch. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. Okay, you guys, so pop this thing open. Here's the harness, which is secured like right over there. You pop this out, get the wire out, and then you pop, this is just the cap, so you can pull that cap off, and that's where this accessory Honda harness comes in, and you just pop this in that wire, the original factory wire harness, and then you see the rubber piece right here matches that, and it just latches back into the original spot. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so for wiring, to connect the red wire, it's recommended to splice it with the power supply wire, and that's where that one Honda harness, accessory harness I bought, comes in handy. So I'm splicing the skinny red wire that came with the wiring for the winch, and I'm going to splice it in with the supply power ignition, only when the ignition is on this accessory, and on the accessory harness that I bought from Honda. And I'm going to be using a quick splice connector, and these things they're awesome. I've used them to rewire my utility trailer and a couple other things I can't even remember. They're really great. So I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so the white wire is the ignition wire. See, there's a white there and a white here. There's two different accessory wires here. If you were to go straight to the original harness of the four-wheeler, there's only one white wire, and that's the one you want to splice in. But these are two accessories, and I'm going to be splicing into one of them. Okay, so there goes that one there. This guy. Go in right there. And you grab some pliers of some sort, and you push this metal thing in. You just crimp it, and it goes all the way in. And then this thing, you squeeze it, and it kind of keeps, supposed to keep that metal piece that we just pushed in from coming out. But once I test everything and everything works okay, then I am going to grab some electrical tape and I'm going to wrap this really good, but I don't want to do that until I test the system out, but we still got ways to go. Okay, you guys, well, like all my other projects that I've taken you guys along, this has taken way too long than I thought, but just tested it and it freaking works. Here we go. I'm gonna put it on free spool, the clutch. I'm gonna pull on the wire, and then I don't have the control attached yet. It's just hanging here. I just didn't want to go through all the trouble and tightening everything up if this thing doesn't work, but it does. So check it out. Yeah, super jacked. So happy that worked. That was a lot of freaking work, but super stoked. Got this thing going, and I'm just gonna tighten everything up. My wire harness worked when I turned the ignition off and I pushed the buttons. Nothing's happening. So super happy. I'm so glad it worked out. So I'm just gonna tighten everything up and put this whole thing back together and call it a night. You guys, thank you so much for following along. I really hope that this helped a couple of you guys out there. Honestly, it's not rocket science. It's just rolling your sleeves up and dedicating some time, some hours, and you can do it. Just follow along, follow my video, other videos, and you'll be able to do it. I promise you that. So please subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, hit me up with any questions.